I've heard the full story from Francine. I of course heard it at the time, and this was before I had gone into XPW.
Yeah,
and
sorry, XPW.
yeah, this is before I went in there. Sometime before I went in there, but after I had left ECW, I think I was in WCW at the time, and the dressing room is telephone, telegraph, tele-wrestler. We had heard about it almost probably within an hour of it actually happening. Francine was in the ring doing a promo, and they were all sitting at ringside. Ronnie Lang from Atlas Security had already talked to them, and there was no heat or anything. They were there just paying customers. And at a certain point, one of them jumped up, and I forget who, but one of them jumped up and took their shirt off, which signified to the others to all do the same thing, sitting front row with their XPW shirts. And there was some contact made with Francine, which is what brought everybody out of the ECW dressing room. God, it was, how many times it happened in ECW, if a wrestler would get attacked or touched, and the dressing room would empty out like bees out of a hive. And Franny was in the ring, and I believe somebody either touched her or went to touch her, and that's what instigated it all. It was after all these things all happened. Which happened first? You'd have to ask Franny. But Franny claims there was never any contact. I guess somebody said that Francine hit her back or something. There was a lot of comments made after that. But it was, hey, look, there's being the ECW guy, I can tell you that if we were in somebody else's turf, that's what we would have done. We would have gone in, probably bought tickets to the front row of WCW or WWF and done the same thing. So kudos for them for doing it. But, probably not the best dressing room to do it with, because the ECW dressing room was, we were all very protective of the ECW and the characters and such. So, it's, I've heard both sides of the story. I heard when I first went there, theirs was a lot more innocuous version. I've heard the way worse versions from other people, and then Francine's story sort of falls somewhere in between. Not a real wise move to make with ECW.
In the end, the only people that I really remember from XPW are the ECW people that crossed over there afterwards, such as you. You gave that one
the speech
putting the company on your back, but I know there was problems with that company with funding from the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when I first went there, I made it abundantly clear to Rob Black, the owner, that I didn't want it. I wouldn't be there as long as, if there was any kind of connection between the porno and the wrestling. They had to be two separate companies. And he agreed to do that. And, we went through some incarnation. There were, little issues like, the show wasn't edited the way, I had booked it out or whatever. Things like that you come to expect. That's sort of commonplace for the business. But when I found out that they were still crossing over the porno with the wrestling, which was one of the things that I had made very clear to Rob that I wouldn't tolerate. And it had nothing to do with pro or anti-pornography. It was just, I didn't want the wrestling fans to have just an easy, it's the porn company, and criticize just because of that connection. And I still think to this day that was one of the things that they did wrong with XPW. That and not listening, very much like Dixie Carter later, when you have people that are there that have the experience, both in the business, in the ring, and behind the camera, you're a fool not to take that advice.